Hello, everybody. Welcome to Nothing Like a Good Book. Have you? And today, well, I got a big something very, very different. A little gothic today. So I'd like to welcome you to M.V. Allen, affectionately known as Max. Hello, Max. So, and here she is, M.V. Allen. Hello there, M.V.
Hello. It's
How you
good to
doing?
be here.
That's good to have you. MV, what's that, motor vehicle? I was in the open. I was talking about how, you've graduated from East Tennessee State Uni. Storytelling has been a lifelong passion for you, but you never really had the drive to actually draft and create a full novel. And for the sake of other writers who could be watching this now, what was it that finally got you motivated? Well, I mentioned the fact about graduation. And I mentioned the fact that maybe because you were studying too hard, you didn't have time to do anything else. But what was the real, pusher for you that got you going?
Well, yeah, there's the fact that I was studying too hard. I was still coming up with stories during my time in college, but studying had to be a priority. It wasn't just that, though. I think it's also just, I started getting a bit depressed after my college time. I was, looking for a job. It was hard to find one, even with my degrees, and it was during that time that I started writing.
Nothing you can work at home, long distance type thing?
Well, I eventually did find one.
I'm glad to hear that. That's good. But
in the interim, when I couldn't find a job, that's when I was writing. That's when I started getting depressed and felt the need to express myself through literature.
A good idea. Okay, see, everybody's different. It takes all sorts to be able to get going and get started. Some have had a book in, their mind for 30 years, and I'll get to it one day.
I've had several books in my mind throughout my entire life.
Well, in fact, you've had success with Rory's Island. This was your very first book, wasn't it?
Yes.
Tell us about that one.
Well, that one's a comic book inspired by my love of anime. And specifically, a lot of anime are based on manga, which is, basically just the Japanese word for comics. But here in the West, it's known for specifically the Japanese style of comics. It's a very famous art style. And, a lot of manga get adapted into anime. And so I wanted to create something that's kind of, had that flavor for it. Well, I created the concept and the publishers handled the artwork. I said I wanted to make something that, was reminiscent of that manga/anime art style.
Right.
The book itself is about the daughter of a scientist. The daughter is named Alice Kristoff, and her father has been kidnapped by pirates in the year 2000. And she goes to the island of Akumishima along with her godfather, Dr. Warden, in order to save her father. And along the way, they meet a red oni, a monster of Japanese folklore, who is the eponymous Rory, who befriends Alice and volunteers to help her find her father.
Wow. Rory, Onis, huh? So why the Japanese theme?
Yeah, because, like I said, because I like anime and manga. It's a way of paying tribute to that.
Okay. Fair enough, too.
Yeah,
so
Akumishima is just Japanese for Devil Island. Right. So it's right there even in the name of the setting. But Rory's Island, only the first volume's been published. There's going to be 2 more volumes. The second volume is on the way, and we're getting close to getting it.
Well, orphaned and alone, 14-year-old Garth's life changes when he's adopted by the enigmatic Count Irving, only to discover his new family of vampires. Turned against his will, Garth must navigate a world of bloodlust, supernatural powers, and the eerie Half Moon Castle. God, it sounds spooky, I tell you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to show now this Black Hollow, ladies and gentlemen, Volume 1, The Plague of Shadows. How on earth did you get to write a book like this?
Yeah, it was part of my depression. I was kind of in a very dark and broody mood and kind of got myself invested in Gothic literature.
And what was, if I may ask you, the depression after college, was that sort of like a downer? so much study, so much pressure, so much, God, it's all over with now. Whew. Does that cause a depression?
No, it was more so, why can't I find a job? Why can't I earn money? I did all this hard work and yet I can't find anything. I couldn't even drive. I had spent so much time studying that I didn't even get a driver's license.
Yeah, well, you're not Robinson Crusoe when it comes to that. All that study, all those degrees, it must be very, very frustrating, I can assure you. This book, it's your big dream, isn't it? This is the big one.
Yep.
Black Hollow. Tell us a bit more about it. Share the characters if you like.
Okay.
Talk about it.
Yeah, our main character is Garth. We are introduced to him as an orphan living in 1904. It's kind of an alternate history similar to our world. I haven't decided if it actually takes place in our world or if it's just a fantasy counterpart. I left that intentionally vague in the story to figure out in subsequent volumes because this was originally going to be one book, but things just got so big, so ambitious. The characters I felt needed more time to have their arcs fleshed out. So this is kind of becoming a series.
Yeah, volumes in this one too, right? This is only volume 1.
Yes.
Okay, and when is it released?
Oh, volume 1 is already released. You can find it right now.
Right. This can be bought on Amazon as well, of course.
Yeah, on Amazon. Yeah.
And I think I've got them all here. Barnes & Noble, Lulu.com in the shop there, paperback. There's a lot of stuff that will go on the site, a lot of links, and Kobo.com.
Yeah.
Play.google.com. Oh, that's the
Google Books.
The Google Books thing. Yeah. So it's going to be a lot of places.
Well, like I said, it's a world very similar to our own, of course, set in the past. An interesting thing that you'll see, a common trope in vampire fiction, is the idea of taking vampires and setting them in the modern world, which is strange because what's modern is constantly changing. A century ago, in the original Dracula, Bram Stoker was doing the same thing. It's just that his modern world was Victorian England. And so it seems historical to us, but at the time, that was vampires in the modern world. That's what he was doing with Dracula. So here, taking something like this and taking it into an intentionally historical setting is actually, it may seem like it's been done before, but it hasn't.
Right. What about favorite characters? What do you think the readers who do you think they'll go for the most?
I think they'll go for our two leads. There's Garth, we're introduced to him as an orphan, but he doesn't stay that way for long after he gets adopted by the counts. And meets his new family of vampires. He's quickly bitten and turned. Right. And a lot of this book is about his internal struggle of dealing with, being a newly turned vampire and all the desires to consume blood.
What about...
so I wasn't done yet. We got, that's just one of our leads. That's, the other lead is Devlina. She's the other one. Garth and Devlina are right there on that cover. Garth's the boy in red and Devlina's the girl in blue.
All right.
Devlina, she's also a vampire and she's actually the one who turned Garth. She's the one who bit him and she's his adoptive older sister when he's taken in by the Count's family.
I see.
She's very mischievous. She likes to pull jokes on people and hurt them. But she also does have a caring side and, is willing to play the role of the protector when need be.
Right.
She's a very fun character and I had a lot of fun writing her and I think the readers might enjoy her.
Good.
So just two really good leads here with Garth and Devlina.
Yeah, Garth and Devlina. So some of your, what do you think some of the opinions are going to be with the action scenes? It's not visual. You've written it. Crossing that bridge into the imagination of a reader for the action scenes. Do you think they're going to really take off?
Yes, I do. I think that I already did a few things with some test readers online, and they really liked the action scenes. So I'm sure that if they did, that's a general audience would too. I actually studied how to do action scenes in literature.
Interesting.
Those who want a good thrill can definitely find it here. There's plenty of action to be had. A lot of fighting, a lot of vampire versus vampire.
Oh, God. Because they can't die. I mean, these guys fight all day and all night, right?
Well, all night. So they burn in the daylight.
That's right. Forgive me.
No, actually, that was a fairly recent convention that started with the 1922 movie Nosferatu. And all the vampire fiction before that movie, they actually could go out into the day. It just robbed them of their powers.
Yes.
And they didn't get killed by sunlight until after the Nosferatu movie, but it became such an iconic weakness that it just didn't make sense to not include it.
It's funny about all this, vampire stuff at the moment. I just finished a part in a movie called Ascension. It's going to be released soon. It's a vampire movie. It's a short. But,
that sounds cool.
Don't worry about that. So in terms of Gothic fantasy, do you feel the story, actually leans heavier on the Gothic side or more on the fantasy side?
Honestly, I'd say it leans more on the fantasy side with things like fighting and magic. I'd say it leans more on fantasy, but with a more Gothic aesthetic.
Well, I tell you what, let's play this for our viewers and let's see what they have to say. That's interesting. This time I played that, but there's no audio. Interesting. But look at the vision. And you can see the fonts there. It's a Gothic tale of darkness, betrayal, and redemption. Yeah, not bad. It's pretty good. I can't figure that out why. But anyway, this was the first rough, roughly, wasn't it? This is not the video that's going to go out. Right, so tell us about the one that is. Okay. So when do you think then that volume 2 or 3, have you planned this over a year at a time or 6 months at a time?
Okay.
Or how does that work?
So yeah, I wrote volume 1. I started writing it like a couple of years ago. It took multiple drafts to get right, but I think I did a really good job. A lot of authors, they give up before even finishing their first draft. And that's a shame because, if you continue on and you make sure to iterate on what you've got, you can make something that is really good. Mm-hmm. I was surprised, but I managed to do well. And volume 2 is being written. Okay. It is in the drafting phase, but volume 1 is already out, so you can get it. I can talk more about volume 1 if you would like.
Sure. I'm just trying to ask you from an author's perspective here for our authors that are watching. They learn from each author different things. They compare. When you sat down to do your draft, how do you do that? How do you approach that? Is that like, look, let's get this out of my head. Whatever I've got, let's just get it down on paper. And that becomes a draft.
Okay, yeah. So, interesting thing. You know how we talked about my love of anime?
Yes.
Well, I actually said a lot of anime are based on manga, and a lot of manga tend to be published in weekly or monthly magazines, and the mangaka, that's the name for manga authors, often make up the story on the spot as they're drawing the manga. And that was the thing I took when drafting Black Hollow. Each draft offered something new, and it was, often synthesized old ideas into the new as I, created each one on the fly with minimal planning. One of my influences in that is Dragon Ball mangaka Akira Toriyama. But it's not just Akira Toriyama. Other mangaka do it too, like Eiichiro Oda, who does One Piece, or Sugumi Oba, who's known for Death Note. My love of anime still translates into the Gothic fantasy setting. I had said when doing the illustrations to the publishing team that I wanted to keep that manga anime style like you see on the cover there. Mm-hmm.
It's different. It's grabbing. He looks more like a vampire than she does. That's for sure at the moment.
Yeah, though they both are. Like I said, she's the one who turned him.
Oh, yeah. And what, a bite on the neck does it? Not on the wrist or anything.
Well, technically the bite can be anywhere. It's just often the neck. That's just a genre convention.
Yeah.
And, of course, they don't get turned right away in these stories. Vampires being a type of undead, typically that person dies after being bitten, and that's when they get turned.
Right.
Of course, the bite itself doesn't kill them. It's usually the blood loss from having their blood be sucked.
Right.
In a lot of older vampire stories, the vampire would bite them more than once, slowly draining their blood over multiple feedings. And like I said, don't be afraid to draft as you go along. Like I said, a lot of with Black Hollow is that I, took that Akira Toriyama style of manga storytelling,
right,
writing it as you go along.
Interesting. Writing as you go along. In some ways that sort of appeals to me that it might be easier to be able to write than the normal way.
Yeah, I learned quite a bit from the art of manga when it comes to storytelling.
Manga. Manga. Interesting. I'll keep that in mind. Manga. Do a bit of research on it. Yeah. allencraft.com/black-hollow. Well, there's lots of places, and all these links will go on, by the way, as they normally do with every author, onto markbishopmedia.com. Third tap along, nothing like a good book. You see all of the authors and all of the links, their bios and photos and so on, and all the links where you can actually go to purchase the book. What age group do you think this is perfect for?
Okay, well, I gotta say that, I definitely wanted to reach a young adult audience, though I was also told that teenagers might really like it. One of the things test readers compared it to was Harry Potter. How that kind of was the quintessential young adult book back in the 90s. I imagine that same kind of crowd, if they liked Harry Potter, could like this. And also, I think with the whole manga art style, there's going to be a lot of illustrations too, not just the cover. And my manga-esque way of writing,
right?
That it could possibly appeal to the anime enthusiasts out there.
Okay, so there's my word. So we're talking really the youngest being what do you think would get up to about 18, 17, 18 would really dig this, but that's too old?
I think that would definitely be.
Okay, all right. So MV, it's been an absolute pleasure meeting you.
Pleasure to meet you too. I really enjoyed this.
This is good. And all I can say is, hey, all the very best with the book. I hope you sell 1 million. Okay.
Thank you. And Volume 2 will eventually happen. There will be a series out of this.
That's good. Looking forward to Volume 2 and to Volume 3. And that's fantastic. So there we go. Well, folks, what a lovely lady. And that's our first gothic style, scary, whoopee type bookie. You know what I mean? Scare the pants off you. Vampires and God knows what. 2 key leads, Stelvina and Garth. Poor old Garth, mind his own business, gets bit, next minute he's a vampire.